Greetings! In today's video, I am making a flower. Actually, that's not entirely accurate. Yes, the thing I am making is a flower technically, but one of the main skills I wanted to train while recording this video was keeping my actions relatively center frame. I've noticed while editing that the focal point on the screen tends to wander all over the place, and in some cases what I'm doing is not even in the camera's field of view, and that problem compounds of me building generally monochrome bodies with details that are best seen when rotating your point of view. Just a quick aside, to focus on the build in the background, this is a relatively simple design, exactly why I chose it to make while focusing on something more ethereal, such as the field of view of my camera. The flower is essentially planned out in 3 layers. The top 2 are 4 petals each, and each petal is made out of 4 pieces of wire attached radially to a circle. The 3rd layer is the bottommost one. It's designed to be a stand for the flower and the origin point for the pistil and stamen. Coming back to the intent of keeping my visuals in the center of the screen, there are a few things I cannot really change at the moment. My camera setup is kinda scuffed. The way it's mounted mandates a top-down perspective. That in itself isn't a problem, I'm just not very good at keeping it in mind yet. One thing I will try soon is recording from farther away and zooming into the shot later to keep it more centered in the screen. However, I'm not sure how well my phone's camera quality holds up when it's farther away and zoomed in post. Another of the reasons I have not yet tried to record from farther away is that as it is set up currently, I can very easily peek at my phone screen to check if it's still recording, or if I'm in frame, or if its battery is low, or any other issues that may arise. Checking if the camera can see what I'm doing is one aspect I wish I knew how to augment for myself, and I guess that would require getting an external camera that I can hook up to my laptop so that I can see what it sees on the screen in real time. That would be harder to mount than my phone, but it would allow me to record easily from farther and crop in editing. A prominent issue with that, however, is that as it is currently, my hair gets in the way of some shots. If the camera was placed sort of over my shoulder or farther away, I think I would have an even easier time getting in its way often. Although that could be obviously mitigated by experimenting with different placements and the sort. Another thing I have pondered is the option of marking the camera's field of view on my surface, either with light or with tape, just to indicate that my hands shouldn't cross out of that area and wander somewhere else. That's an interesting proposition if I can do it with a rectangular light source, because it would also improve the quality of the image with better lighting. A bit more tedious if I have to manually place some tape down every time I set my phone up, but probably worth it in the long term, considering it would make editing easier and improve the consistent quality of my shots. Another on the long list of thoughts I've had about everything is regarding the desk and surfaces I work on. I have pondered working on white surfaces to improve clarity in the work. However, soldering throws a wrench in those plans as it tends to char any surface it's done on, for obvious reasons. But I should probably do a better job at making sure my actions aren't swallowed up by a very complex and unnecessarily busy background. Another issue with soldering is that it cannot be done on a thin surface because it will burn through the layers and affect the desk. So if I do change the surface to make it more visible, I have to take care to protect what's under it. Beyond that, especially in the summer, all the heat generation overheats my phone and it stops recording because it's too warm. And that's not something I can really mitigate, I'm kind of just complaining about it. Moving back to a more technical camera-centered topic, there is the question about fixed focus and autofocus. As of now, I've used autofocus all of the time because I am aware that when I build, my hands go all over the place, and the camera mitigating that is useful. Given that, and given the fact that I am unsure whether my phone can even switch to a manual focus mode, that is an option I am in part considering because at some intervals the focus has decided to remain on the background rather than following my hands and pliers when they come closer to the camera. A slightly off-topic consideration is about the end of video showcase shots. Whether they are good as they are, or if it would be better to have them on a completely blank background. The good of the current format is that it's next to a window and has consistently good lighting, whereas if I have to relocate that somewhere else, I am not sure the results would be that good. On the flip side, making a completely blank background would help reflect the light very well, and so poorer lighting might not be as detrimental. The main issue with a blank background is where to put it so that it is well lit and has somewhat consistent lighting with the rest of the video. However, when I lay it out like that, I think I have a few ideas. As I am typing all this out, I realize how helpful writing is to thought. Sitting down and having to pick out every word to translate onto the keyboard is gaining me more progress on these subjects in half an hour now than I have made in several weeks of merely having them free-floating in my brain. And I'm tempted by the idea of producing a video like this every few months where I just go in and critique every aspect of my recording process to see what solutions and improvements I can glean from it. It would be a very interesting diary of sorts, documenting all the changes to my approach and technique. Additionally, as I can focus very precisely on a particular facet of what I'm doing, such as the framing of my camera, or my editing style, or the tools that I employ, or the genre of my creations, I can focus on improving a very specific aspect, narrowing my attention and maximizing, in a way, the benefit that I gain to that specific piece of the puzzle. Then, over time, one would hopefully be able to see and recognize all the pieces of the puzzle improving and coming together. Hopefully. If I am not a deranged lobster. But I must not get ahead of myself and think too far into the future. In conclusion, I am happy with the flower. It's mostly uniform and close enough to radially symmetrical that it doesn't bother my brain while not looking factory made. Something I wish I had kept from the drawing is the curvature of the petals to the left or the right, because I feel it would have given it far more character and made it more organic. The pistil and stamen are correctly proportioned, and the lower layer of petals is just a bit smaller than the top layer, which is how I intended for it to be. Only one of the solders on the tips of the petals broke, which is honestly quite a good track record for me. And the stand gives the whole thing a nice tilt to mimic a natural resting state. It has to be said that I did pick a simple to execute design for this project so that I would have more brain power to allocate to my relationship with the camera's field of view, so it's not very surprising that the result is good. Regardless, that has been me making a flower. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the future.